Hello there, in this video we are going to create a fire particle using the Niagara system from Unreal Engine 5. And this is basically the result that we are going to get in the end. So first of all, we need to create the fire texture. So this is going to be 4 different fire alphas that we are going to lay in a single texture to be used for the particle system. And for that we are going to use Krita, but you can use any other painting software that you want. What we are going to do here is to create a random shape, and then after creating this random shape we are going to smudge it so we get a interesting look, and then we are going to repeat these 4 times. With all the shapes created, now we have to lay them in the 4 corners, just like that. Okay, so now that we have the texture, the only thing we need to do is to bring it inside of Unreal Engine. So I'm going to grab it from here, and then we're going to just drag and drop it inside of the project. So now that we have it imported, we have here a fire flip. I've imported it inside the textures folder. So I separated the content here in FX. So FX, we have the material, particle, and textures. And this is going to be the material that we are going, not actually the material, the texture that we are going to use. So now that we have it, we are going to double click and then disable this option here, this sRGB. We are going to disable it, and also we are going to change, let's see, the compression settings. I'm going to make it, let's see, this is a grayscale G8 16, and then Ctrl S to save the changes. Alright, so now I can close it and then Ctrl space to bring up this dash again, and then now we are going to create the material for our particle. And for that I'm going to click here in the materials folder, right click, material, and I'm going to call this one fire underscore matte, like that. And then I'm going to open it, and we are going to change this guy here from opaque to translucent, and from default lit to unlit. Nice. Now I'm going to right click and choose and search for particle color. That's the one we are going to use. And also I'm going to press Ctrl space to bring up the dash here again, and then in textures I'm going to drag and drop it here, and I'm going to hold M and click again, so I have 2 multiplies. So now I'm going to get the particle RGB color to the A, and the same here, RGB from the texture to the B, and connect this guy here to the emissive color. And now for the opacity, what we are going to do is grab the alpha from here, so connect it here, and then the RGB here to the B, and connect this guy to the opacity. And that's it. That's basically it for the material. Now we can see that we have some shapes, and let's save it. So save the material. Nice. Close it, and then Ctrl space again. And now we are going to create the actual particle, the particle system. So I'm going to click here in the particles folder, right click, and then I'm going to choose this Niagara system and choose the first option here. So next, and we are going to look for this fountain option here. So click on it, the plus, finish. I'm going to call this fire and S for Niagara system, and double click it to get inside of the Niagara editor. Okay, so now that we are in here, we are going to change a few things. And since we are dealing with fire here, we can delete the gravity force from this particle update and also this drag here. Nice. Now we are going to change a few other things, but first of all, let's change the looks of it, because now we have some dots being rendered and we want to see the actual texture that we created. So I'm going to click on this sprite renderer and choose in here this default sprite material. I'm going to change it for fire matte, so it's the one that we created. Okay, so now it's preparing. And there we go. But if we actually take a look at it, it's rendering all the four things at the same time, and we don't want that. So we're going here to the sub UV, open it up, and since we have two images, so it's like 4 images, then we are going to change this here from 1 to 2 and 2 here as well. So this is what we are going to have now. Nice, but still, this is quite small and too fast. Then let's change some things here. First of all, let's go here to the spawn rate. Let's bring it down to something like 50. So there are going to be less particles being spawned at a single time. And then the initialize particle, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to change the lifetime. So I'm going to make the minimum time 2 and the maximum to be 3. Okay, and let's see, another thing that we are going to do is change this color mode here to unset, because we are going to work with the color later in the particle update. Okay, and then let's see, is sprite size minimum and the sprite size maximum. Here we can change this guy here to change the size of the sprites, and since it's a random uniform, we can choose a number, let's say 40 for this one, and then let's put it to 80 in this other one here. And we already have something a little bit better than we had before. Okay, cool. Now let's go for this shape location. And in here, we can change the radius that this is going to be spawned. So if we make it too big, it's going to be like that. So I'm going to bring it down to something like this. I think it's fine. So 20 is good for me. And that's basically it for the shape location. Now let's go for the add velocity. And in here, we're going to change it from in cone to linear. And now we can see that things are a little bit more packed together. So let's make this velocity on the z-axis, and so we're going up a little bit faster. So this one, I want it to be 150. So it goes a little bit faster like that. Okay, that's good. And then we can go here to the particle state. Okay, so this particle state, actually not particle state, the particle update. In here we have the scale color that we are going to change the color of the particle over time. And we are also going to add a few more things to it, just so we have some more variations. So one of them is, so we click here on this plus button, and then we are going to search for curl like this. So curl noise force. This is going to add some chaos to the system. So we can change here the noise strength to be 50, it should be good. And also I'm going to open this guy here. So check this pen noise and let's change it from the thing it is at the moment. If I'm not mistaken, it's just a random vector, or just actually just a vector. It's not even random vector. We are going for a random range vector. So I'm going to click here, and then we can change this here to be the minimum. So the minimum x is going to be minus 0.5. The minimum y is going to be minus 0.5. The minimum z is going to be 0. The maximum x is going to be 0.5, and the maximum y is also going to be 0.5, and the z 0, because we don't want it to be moving up and down. Nice. So that's basically it for the curl noise. Now we are going to add a little bit more things to it. So let's click on this plus button, and we are going to add a sub UV animation. So we can change the sprite, the alpha that we see here over time. So for that, we are going to come here. So this sprite renderer, we are going to click is here on this node and make it sprite renderer. And this is just so we get rid of those warnings. And then I'm going to click on this start and end frame. So this way we are going to see that it is quite chaotic. We can change this number here to be the amount of things that we have. So it's going to be like 4. And then we are going to have something like this. But I wanted to move to change a little bit faster. So I'm going to change it to 8. Okay, so now we have it like that. Very good, very good. So now to change the shape of the fire over time as well, we are going to click here and then look for scale, sprite. So scale, sprite, size. And there we go. So this scale, sprite, size, we are going to have something like this, but then it's going to start fairly small and then get big by the end. And that's not very good. We want something that is quite, I'd say, the inverse of it. So we can click on this pulse out. And then we are going to have something that looks a little bit more interesting. And then we can change the shape of it just to match whatever the shape that you want it to have. I want it to be something like this. For me, it's good. Then I'm going to keep it. And then now let's go for the color. So I'm going to click here on the scale color, and we are going to change this RGB and alpha separately to RGB linear color curve. Nice. Now when we click it, we are going to have this kind of gradient thing that we can change the color of these handles and also change the value of these ones here. These ones, the ones that are below the gradient, they are responsible for the alpha, and this is going to affect how fast the fire is going to disappear. And these ones up here is basically the color, and this is a normalized age. So it's like if the particle is let's say is going to survive for 3 seconds, this is going to be 0. So here is going to be 0, and here is going to be 3 seconds. So that's the color that's going to appear over time. Then, since this is the beginning of the fire, we can double click on this guy here. Let's double click on it. And then it's going to open up this color picker where we can choose the color of the fire. I want it to be this bright orange here. So this way we have something with a value of 1. If we change the value here, this is going to be a lot brighter. So I'm going to make it like a value of 100. It was 1. So now when we change it to 100, this is the effect that we get. Okay. And we can choose, we can add more colors here. So I can click, and then we are going to create a new handle. When I double click on it, I am going to change it a little bit up here and bring down the value to something like 50. Okay. And I'm also going to add another one here, just so we have a fade out, like a part that's going to be a little bit darker in the end. So like that. It's going to be a black color. Okay, that's very cool. And if we want to make things disappear a little bit later, we can add here an opacity node and change it to another value. So this one I want 0.8, actually 0.75, whoops, 0.75, and then we can choose when the fire is actually going to start disappearing. So this is very good to control it. Okay, very cool, very cool. Now that we have it, another thing that we can add to add a little bit more to this fire is make the sprites rotate. So also here on this particle update plus button, we can add a sprite rotation rate. There we go. So we click it, and then we can change this rotation rate here to something a little bit higher. I'm going to make it 8. Let's see. Yeah, and it seems like a good value for me. That's very good. So the way we have it at the moment is already quite nice. We can use it this way outside. So just to show you that it's already working, I'm going to save this. So Control S, and then bring it down a little bit, and then in here Control Space and drag and drop it in the scene, and there you can see it already works quite nicely. You can use it in a campfire, you can use it as a projectile, you can use it to quite a lot of things actually. But we can add a little bit more things to it, and this is going to be what we are going to do now. We are going to add smoke, and for that, pretty simple. We are just going to Control C this here, and then Control V it in here, and then we are going to have double the thing, but now we are going to change a few things here. So this is spawn rate, let's make it be less common, so let's spawn it just a 10, so 10 particles of that type. And also let's see, initialize particle, let's make it survive a little bit longer. So this one's going to be 3, and then the maximum is going to be 4. Okay, all the rest is going to be basically the same thing. The velocity, I want it to be a little bit faster, so I'm going to make it 200 instead of 150. And then we are also going to change the color. Since this is going to be the smoke, let's make this here black. And there we go. And this one I want to fade a little bit earlier, like that. And we can also change the first color here to be less bright, so let's make it 20, like that. Okay, and we already have a fire that's looking quite nice actually. And just to finish it off, we can change the names here by selecting, press F2, and then this one is going to be the fire, and this one, F2, is going to be the smoke. Okay, that's very nice. So saved, again, bringing it here, and then putting it in the world, and yeah, that's looking quite nice actually. Now, the only thing that we would have to do is to export and to make some properties of this fire available for the user outside of the Niagara system here to be tweaked. So you don't have to go all the time. You need to go here, create a different Niagara system for something that's fairly similar to what we already have. So we can create some parameters and to be used to change the particle system. And that's actually quite simple. So let's bring this guy here up again. And in the fire, for example, let's work with something to make the size of the sprites bigger. For that, we can come here to the scale sprite size, and then we have this uniform curve scale. If we make it go up like that, you can see that it gets quite big here. So let's bring it back to normal. Then if we expose this parameter here to the user, we can change it outside of the Niagara system graph, let's say. For that, it's pretty simple. What we need to do is just click here on this down arrow, and then we are going to this make, and we are going to choose this one, read from new user parameter. So click on it, and then we are going to see here a bunch of parameters like this. But if we go to the user parameters, we select it. Here we are going to have this uniform curve scale, and we can change the name of it. So if I go to let me see if I can rename it from here. Yes, so right click, rename, and then we can change it to fire sprite size scale. Okay, so fire sprite scale. If I make this one here go up, now I see the same result because it's connected in here. Okay, and then let's bring it back to 1. And one thing that's very cool is that now we are able to access this outside from this view here. So I can save it, and let me close this one. With the file system selected, I can come here to the fire Niagara system, so here, and then we see in user parameters we have the fire sprite scale. So if we make it go up, we have the same result. And we can do basically the same thing with all the parameters inside of the Niagara system. And that's it for this video. If you liked, let us know by clicking the like button, and also subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!